On my birthday, I didn't blow out any candles, nor did I smile. What I received that day was the most unexpected gift of my life, proof that my husband had been cheating on me for 4 years. The man who once swore to hold my hand for the rest of our lives had secretly been holding another woman's hand behind my back. His friends tried to console me, saying, "Come on, Emily, men sometimes just want a bit of excitement." But Ryan himself was calm and indifferent. "I didn't betray you physically," he said. "It's just that my heart wanted a little change." I didn't make a scene, because I've never been the kind of woman to lower myself. I also never intended to cling to something already tainted. Since Ryan was on a business trip abroad, I hadn't planned to throw a birthday party. But he said he couldn't bear to let me feel lonely, so he secretly contacted our friends and even booked the entire banquet hall of a luxury hotel. He arranged a surprise birthday party for me. During the celebration, our friends took turns praising how deeply Ryan loved me, that even after 8 years of marriage, his feelings for me were still as sincere as the very beginning. Hearing their words, the regret I felt about his absence eased a little. Halfway through the party, someone brought in a gift that Ryan had prepared himself. I looked at the label on the packaging and saw that it was a designer handbag, the very one I had mentioned several times before. I had assumed he was too busy lately and might have forgotten, but clearly he hadn't. That realization made me feel touched. I opened the gift with excitement, eager to finally see the bag I had been longing for. But when I unwrapped it, I realized it wasn't the model I had said I liked. I felt slightly disappointed, but quickly reassured myself that he must have just picked the wrong one. After all, men were never very perceptive about these things. As I lifted the bag to set it aside, a folded receipt slipped out from an inner pocket. The date printed on it immediately caught my attention. I remembered that day very clearly because I had called Ryan many times, yet no one answered. It wasn't until late at night that he finally called me back. His voice sounded tired as he said he'd been busy at the office all day and hadn't had time to pick up. But obviously, he'd had time to go buy a handbag. So why didn't he answer my calls? Even if he'd wanted to surprise me, there was no reason to lie. A faint sense of unease crept into my heart, but on the surface, I kept smiling and chatting with everyone as if nothing was wrong. Not long after, Ryan sent over a birthday video message. One of my friends spotted it right away and shouted, "Hey, Ryan sent a video. Come on, play it on the big screen. We all want to see what sweet things he's going to say this time." I quickly waved my hands, trying to refuse, but there was no stopping them. In the end, I had to ask one of the hotel staff to connect the video to the large screen behind me. When the screen lit up, Ryan's handsome face appeared clearly in front of everyone. His voice was gentle and warm as he spoke. "My love, happy birthday. I'm sorry I can't be with you this year because of work, but my heart is always with you. I'll love you until the very last moment of my life." The room immediately filled with cheers and teasing. "Ryan's so sweet. They don't even seem like they've been married for years. They're like newlyweds," someone laughed. Their laughter made a faint warmth rise inside me. When the video ended, Ryan reached toward his phone and casually set it aside, but the recording hadn't stopped yet. The camera shifted toward a shelf in the corner of the room, and on it, I saw a handbag I instantly recognized. It was the exact model I had once told him I liked. A strange feeling rippled through my chest. Before I could even gather my thoughts, a woman's voice suddenly came from the video. "Are you done yet, Ryan?" My heart sank. I knew that voice. It was Lily's. There was no time to hide it anymore. "If you miss her that much," I said coldly, "then go back to her. I don't need you here." Right after that came Ryan's hurried voice trying to coax her. "Don't say nonsense, Lily. I'm just pretending, that's all. If I don't, she'll keep calling non-stop and it'll ruin our mood. But you know my heart only belongs to you." A sharp pain stabbed through my chest. Hearing that, Lily's tone softened, her voice playful again. "That's better. Oh, by the way, didn't you say she likes this bag? You only gave me one. She won't throw a fit, will she?" Ryan chuckled lightly. "No way. At her age, this style doesn't even suit her anymore. You're the one who looks perfect with it." "Enough already," I whispered to myself as I pressed the button and shut off the video. The banquet hall, which had been filled with laughter and chatter, suddenly went silent, so quiet it felt like the lights had gone out. No one dared to speak. About 5 minutes passed before one of Ryan's friends finally broke the silence, clearly nervous. "Emily. Don't take it the wrong way. Ryan just thought Lily was a little different from the women in our circle, you know? He just wanted to feel something new. You're still the one he wants to spend his life with." When I didn't respond, that same friend tried to add more, attempting to ease the suffocating tension. But I couldn't hear a word he said. The only thing echoing in my mind was Ryan's voice from the video. My hands clenched so tightly that my nails dug deep into my palms, yet I felt no pain at all. After a long silence, I lifted my head, my voice cold as winter frost. "So, all of you knew about their affair?" The group of Ryan's friends immediately lowered their heads, like ostriches burying themselves in the sand, too ashamed to make a sound. Later, I managed to piece the truth together from one of them. The woman's name was Lily Evans, 8 years younger than Ryan. They had been involved for 4 years. That meant for half of our 8-year marriage, he had been entangled with her. What chilled me even more was realizing that the friends I had once trusted, who always told me they wished Ryan and me happiness, had known all along, and yet chose to hide it. If it weren't for that video tonight, I wouldn't even know how many more years I'd continue living in his lies. The rage inside me could no longer be contained. I gathered every ounce of strength I had and yanked the tablecloth off the dining table. With a loud crash, glasses and plates of food shattered and spilled across the floor. I didn't even glance back. I just turned and walked away, leaving behind a room full of stunned, speechless faces. On the drive home, tears blurred my vision. The familiar ringtone of my phone kept echoing in my ears, Ryan's personal ringtone, ringing again and again. I didn't have to guess. His friends had clearly called him the moment I left. When his 20th call appeared on my screen, I finally couldn't hold back anymore and answered. On the other end came his deep, anxious voice. "Emily, don't misunderstand. Lily and I are just friends. We only ran into each other by chance during that business trip, so we hung out a little, that's all." Hearing those light, dismissive words made something in me snap. My suppressed fury erupted all at once. "Ryan Carter," I screamed, my voice trembling. "I saw it with my own eyes. I heard it with my own ears. How long do you plan to keep treating me like a fool?" It was the first time in all our years of marriage that we had ever raised our voices at each other. Maybe Ryan realized then that the lies he'd built were finally collapsing. He probably hadn't expected me to react that fiercely. For the first time, Ryan's voice sounded flustered. "Emily, calm down. Don't be impulsive. For the sake of all these years we've been married, just give me one night, okay? I'll take the earliest flight home tomorrow morning. Once I'm back, I'll explain everything, please." When I got home, I quietly looked up at our wedding photo hanging on the wall. In the picture, we were both smiling brightly, so happy, so in love. Ryan and I had met in college. I was the campus beauty, and he was the golden boy of his department. We met through a student club and naturally fell for each other. Back then, our love was so pure, untouched by any kind of selfish thought. I still remember vividly the moment he proposed to me. He got down on one knee, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers and a small velvet box. His face was full of tenderness and love, and as he slipped the ring onto my finger, his eyes were firm and sincere. "Emily Shen," he said softly, "you're the only woman I'll ever love in this life, the only one." In that moment, I truly believed I was the happiest woman in the world. Throughout our years of marriage, we treated each other with respect and care. Ryan knew I had trouble sleeping, so every night he would warm up a glass of milk and bring it to me himself, waiting until I finished drinking before he could rest easy. Even when he was away on business trips, he'd still call every night right on time, reminding me to go to bed early and not stay up too late. After 11 years of love and marriage, I couldn't believe he would betray me. Yet my heart softened. Maybe I should give him a chance to explain. "Fine," I said coldly, before hanging up. I curled up on the couch, drained and numb, and stayed that way until the first rays of sunlight filtered through the window. Out of habit, I walked into the kitchen. But when I realized what I was about to do, make breakfast for him, rage surged through me again. I slammed the pots and pans onto the floor, the clattering echoing through the empty house. I waited all morning, but Ryan never came home. Not even a single call. That afternoon, his friend Tom showed up. His face was stiff with unease, his lips parting several times before he finally managed to speak. Emily, Ryan really had something urgent at work. He couldn't make it back. He asked me to come explain, and these are the gifts he told me to buy last night to make up for him. I'm really sorry. I stared at the pile of gifts stacked by the door and let out a cold laugh. So now he doesn't even bother explaining himself, just thinks a few presents can calm me down? Does he take me for some kind of pet? I kicked the pile aside and said flatly, "He's busy, huh? I think she's the one who's busy." The color instantly drained from Tom's face. He stammered, "Emily, no, it's really just company matters, I swear." Before he could finish, his phone rang. The way his expression tightened told me immediately who it was. Ryan. I snatched the phone from his hand and hit the speaker button. I wanted to confront him directly, but before I could speak, Ryan's slightly irritated voice came through the line. "Tom, how'd it go? Did Emily calm down after seeing the gifts?" Tom froze, glancing at me in panic, unable to utter a word. Ryan went on casually, "Sorry to trouble you with this. I've run out of options. You know how Lily is. The moment I mentioned coming home, she got angry and started talking about breaking up. If I really fly back now, I can't imagine what she might do. I'd regret it for the rest of my life if something happened. Just help me hold things down for 3 more days, okay? Once the art exhibition ends, I'll come back right away and treat everyone to dinner." His words stabbed into my chest like sharp knives, each one cutting deeper than the last. I clenched the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Tom, terrified by my expression, quickly spoke into the phone. "Ryan, what the hell are you saying? How could that woman ever compare to Emily? You need to come back now and end it with her once and for all. Emily will forgive you if you just come clean. She has to." Ryan's voice on the phone was heavy with exhaustion and helplessness. "Tom, you don't understand. Emily and I have been together since college. It's been 11 years now. Think about it. Who could stand that long without getting tired? If it weren't for Lily, I honestly don't know how I would have made it through. I'm not breaking up with her. I'll handle this myself. Okay? Anyway, I've got to take her to the gallery now. Talk later." As the busy tone echoed through the room, something inside me went completely still. That was the exact moment any trace of love I still had for Ryan Carter ended, quietly, decisively, and without return. I threw Tom's phone back at him. He called something after me, but I didn't catch it, and I didn't care to. I simply turned and coldly told him to get out. For the next 3 days, I didn't call Ryan once. I didn't cause a scene, didn't tell his family, didn't even confide in any of our friends. On the first day, I changed every password connected to him, bank accounts, shared apps, anything we once had together. Then I contacted a lawyer, began reviewing our marital assets, and drafted the divorce agreement. On the second day, I went for a full health checkup. The results came back perfect. I had once regretted not having children after so many years of marriage, but now I realized that might actually be a blessing. It would make it easier to let go of everything. On the third day, I hired a moving service to clear out all my belongings from the house we had lived in for 8 years. The house had been a wedding gift from Ryan's parents. No matter how the court ruled later, I knew I would never want to step foot in that place again. One box after another was carried out until the rooms grew emptier and emptier. Only then did I notice how little of Ryan's things there actually were. Maybe, I thought bitterly, everything that truly belonged to him had already been moved into another home long ago. When he finally came back, the movers were nearly done. He stormed inside, pointing at them angrily. "Who are you people? What are you doing in my house? Get out, right now." I heard his voice from the bedroom and stepped out. The moment Ryan saw me, his tone shifted instantly, his voice tight with urgency. "Emily, what are you doing? Where are you taking all this stuff?" I didn't answer him. Instead, I turned to the movers and said calmly, "Take a break downstairs. Come back up in a bit." Once they were gone, I pulled out the divorce papers I had already prepared and handed them to Ryan. He looked confused for a second, but the moment his eyes scanned the words on the page, his expression darkened. His hand clenched the paper and tore it into shreds. "Emily, I can explain," he said quickly. "That girl Lily, she's just a junior from our university. We're just friends, that's all." His tone was rushed, desperate, as if clinging to a last shred of hope. I stared straight into his eyes, searching for the smallest trace of guilt or remorse. But to my disappointment, there was nothing. No panic, no shame, not even regret. "Ryan Carter," I said coldly, "I heard everything. The entire phone call between you and Tom, every word." My voice was icy and resolute, leaving him no room for excuses. He froze for a moment, then I could see the realization dawn on his face as he remembered exactly what he'd said that day. His expression grew tangled, uneasy, then suddenly hardened into something far uglier. "Emily," he said sharply, his voice rising, "I didn't cheat on you physically. Isn't that enough? I was just emotionally exhausted. I needed someone, to make me feel alive again. Why do you have to interfere?" Hearing him say those words so shamelessly made bile rise in my throat. "Interfere?" I repeated quietly, my voice trembling with fury. "I don't need to interfere, because I would never lower myself to fight for something already filthy." I didn't even bother to look at him again. I simply took another copy of the divorce papers from my bag, placed it on the table, and said firmly, "Sign it. Once you sign, both your body and your heart will finally belong where they want to be." None of that had anything to do with me anymore. But in the end, Ryan still refused to sign. His voice was cold and distant. "Emily, you're only saying this because you're angry." "No, I'm not signing anything. Let's both calm down first." I moved back to my old house. My parents had both passed away in the last few years, both of them frail for a long time before they were gone. The familiar space felt emptier than ever. The moment I stepped into my old bedroom, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I collapsed onto the bed and cried until my whole body shook. But when the tears dried, life still had to go on. I had already anticipated that Ryan would refuse to sign the divorce papers, so I immediately called my lawyer, asking him to prepare all the necessary documents to file for divorce in court. While waiting for the case to proceed, I unexpectedly received a phone call from Lily Evans. She wanted to meet me. Thinking that whatever she had to say might help the divorce process, I turned on the recorder on my phone before heading out. When I sat down in the cafe we'd agreed on, I saw a young, beautiful woman walk through the door. She spotted me right away and strode confidently to my table. The moment I looked at her, I knew she had seen me before, or at least seen my photos. Her eyes swept over me from head to toe, unashamedly sizing me up, and a smirk curved her lips. "Emily Shen," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "The brilliant student all our professors praise so highly. You don't look all that special in person." Her voice carried open mockery and disdain. I didn't bother replying. My tone was icy as I asked, "You wanted to meet me just to say this nonsense?" She ignored my attitude entirely. "I've known about you since college," she continued. "Every professor admired you, smart, beautiful, successful, and you even landed the perfect husband. To them, you were flawless, untouchable. But back in high school, I was the one everyone adored. I was the top student, the teacher's favorite." Jealousy flashed across Lily's face, raw and unhidden. "I used to wonder," she went on, "could someone like you really be that perfect?" Then one day, Ryan came to give a guest lecture at our university. I approached him first and asked for his WeChat. I thought he'd ignore me, but within a week we were already together. As she spoke, Lily's eyes never left my face, as if she was desperate to find a trace of pain or despair there. But she was disappointed. My expression remained calm, flat as still water, even faintly detached. That composure seemed to infuriate her. Her tone sharpened, rising in anger. "Emily, I don't get you. You already know Ryan doesn't love you anymore. Why keep clinging to him? Don't you have any self-respect?" Her words made me laugh. "You're young," I said quietly, "and instead of studying or doing something with your life, you chose to become the other woman in someone else's marriage, and you have the nerve to talk to me about self-respect?" Lily's face flushed red instantly, as if I'd stepped on a wound. She snapped. "I'm not the other woman. Ryan and I are in love. In a relationship, the one who isn't loved anymore. That's the real third wheel. Do you even know? Over the last 4 years, he's spent 272 nights with me. Even on your wedding anniversary last year, he was in my bed." Watching her gloat made me feel an odd kind of amusement rather than pain. I glanced at my phone, its recorder still running, and asked in a calm voice that even surprised me, "Really? Anything else?" At that, she quickly opened her photo album and shoved her phone in front of me. The screen was filled with pictures and videos, her and Ryan together, hugging, kissing, their faces close and glowing with happiness. His smile in those images was one I hadn't seen in years. At first, I just stared. I used to think Ryan's distant behavior was because of work stress. I had even suggested taking a trip together to help him relax, but he always turned me down, saying he was too tired. Wanting to take better care of him and prepare for having a baby, I gave up the job I loved and devoted myself completely to our home and marriage. And yet, now everything I had done felt like a joke. Instead of appreciating me, Ryan betrayed me, sneaking around with another woman behind my back. Lily noticed the way I was staring at the photos on her phone, and the satisfaction on her face deepened. She smirked and said mockingly, "If I were you, I'd step aside before losing any more dignity." I gave her a cold glance, then pulled out the signed divorce agreement from my bag and placed it on the table. "What exactly are you so proud of, Lily?" "I've already given Ryan the divorce papers a long time ago. He's the one refusing to sign." "You really think that means you'll get to be with him freely? Dream on. If you're so confident in your relationship with him, then take this and get his signature. But if you actually manage that, I might even thank you." Lily's smile froze, her face twisted in anger. "Emily, you really think Ryan isn't signing because he still loves you? He just pities you. You're a pathetic orphan. No father, no mother, no one who gives a damn about you. You're just a poor, abandoned woman." Those words stabbed right into the deepest wound in my heart. My hand trembled, but without hesitation, I grabbed my coffee cup and threw the contents straight at her. The dark liquid dripped from her hair, down her clothes, soaking the designer handbag I had once adored. A wave of bitter satisfaction surged inside me. "Are you insane, Emily?" she shrieked, standing up abruptly. "How dare you throw coffee at me?" She clearly hadn't expected me to retaliate, and her furious voice echoed through the cafe. When I saw her raise her hand, about to fling her own drink, I quickly seized her wrist and glared coldly into her eyes. "Lily Evans, I threw it because I wanted to. If you've got the guts, go ask Ryan to defend you, see if he dares. And one more thing, my life isn't something you have the right to comment on." Without waiting for her response or the gasps around us, I turned on my heel and walked straight out, ignoring her screams behind me. After that, I started sending out job applications. I hadn't expected my old company to find out. At first, I hadn't planned to go back. After all, I had quit because of Ryan. My former manager, a strong and capable woman, had been deeply disappointed in me back then for giving up my career for a man. But now, at my age, I was caught in an awkward stage, too old to start fresh, too young to be considered senior. Most of my applications went unanswered. With no other choice, I decided to return to my old company for an interview. When my former manager saw me, she was genuinely happy and didn't mention the past. But as she glanced at my resume and noticed that I had written single under marital status, her smile faltered and concern replaced it. "Oh, Emily," she said softly, "didn't you and your husband have such a good marriage? Why did you two divorce?" The moment she seemed to realize the answer herself, her expression hardened with anger. "He did what? After everything you sacrificed for him, you even gave up your promotion for that man, and he still betrayed you?" I smiled faintly. The events had only happened 2 years ago, yet talking about them felt like recalling a past life. Seeing I didn't want to say more, she didn't pry. Instead, she sighed regretfully. "Your old position has already been filled, and we can't make any changes short term. But I have a big project right now. High-value contracts, excellent pay, and generous bonuses. The only thing is, it's based in Brookhaven City and will last about a year. Think it over carefully." "I don't need to think," I said immediately. "I'll take it." This time, I couldn't afford to let another opportunity slip away. That very day, I completed all the onboarding paperwork and started shadowing my manager, throwing myself completely into studying the project details. For the next few days, neither Ryan nor Lily contacted me. I assumed the divorce case would have to wait until I returned from the project to move forward. But then one afternoon, Ryan called me first. For a brief moment, I thought Lily had finally convinced him to sign the papers. I was wrong. He had just received the court summons. Emily, I told you to calm down. Is this what you call calm, suing me in court? Do you really want a divorce that badly? Ryan's voice was filled with anger, nearly losing control. But inside, I felt completely calm. My voice was steady as I answered, yes, I want a divorce. You know me, Ryan. Once I decide on something, I'll see it through. There was a long silence on the other end. I thought he had hung up, but then his low voice came through again. Resigned, fine. The day we finalized the divorce, I arrived at the civil office early. I half expected Lily to come with him, but in the end, Ryan showed up alone. He looked exhausted, his complexion pale, his eyes dull and lifeless. Emily, he said softly, is this really the only path left for us? His tone carried helplessness and despair. I didn't look at him. Instead, I let out a cold, sarcastic laugh. What? Do you still want to hold me with one arm and her with the other? Enjoy the best of both worlds? He froze, clearly not expecting me to be so direct. His face stiffened. That's not what I meant, he stammered. I said nothing. He tried to recover, forcing his expression into one of tenderness, his eyes full of fake sincerity. Right there, in front of the clerk, he said, Emily, you can keep all the marital assets. I won't take anything. But he was the one who had cheated. Leaving with nothing was only fair. The clerk hesitated, glancing between us several times before asking carefully, Are you both absolutely certain you want to go through with this? You can still think it over. I'm sure, I said without hesitation. My tone was calm but resolute. The moment the red seal stamped down on our divorce papers, an indescribable sense of relief washed over me. Finally, the years of lies and betrayal had ended. Finally, I could start over, on my own terms. As I walked out of the civil office, Ryan reached out to stop me. Emily, wait. Where are you going? Let me take you home. I brushed his hand away and stepped aside. No need. We're divorced now. There's nothing left between us. He opened his mouth to say something more, but I didn't give him the chance. I raised my hand, hailed a taxi, and left without looking back. When I got home, I immediately left every group chat connected to Ryan. Then I sent him the audio recording from my meeting with Lily at the cafe. After that, I blocked his number and deleted all his contact information. Some people and some memories, once they're in the past, are best left there forever. Elsewhere, when Ryan listened to that recording, fury filled his chest. He stormed to find Lily, his eyes bloodshot with rage. Didn't you understand what I said? He roared. I told you to stay away from her. Why the hell did you go looking for her? Lily, spoiled by his attention for years, didn't even notice the change in his tone. She rolled her eyes and said lazily, I didn't do anything to her. She's the shameless one, running around tattling after getting divorced. The moment those words left her mouth, Ryan's temper snapped. He slapped her hard across the face. Shameless? Who's shameless here? If you hadn't thrown yourself at me, Emily never would have left me. The slap stunned Lily, but she still managed to sneer through the pain. So what if I seduced you? If you really loved her, then how could I have? Her voice rose in bitter defiance. Let's be honest, Ryan, you never truly loved Emily. Even back in college, everything you did for her was just an act to win her over. Her words hit him like a blade straight to the heart. His face went pale, his hands trembling as they tightened around her shoulders. Lily stumbled backward, collapsing to the floor, gasping for breath as Ryan loomed over her, eyes burning with rage and regret. He bent down slowly. Ryan's voice was low and cold. You'll pay for this, he said before turning and walking out. Lily, shaking with rage, immediately made a call. She was only a recent college graduate, a young woman who had never truly faced the harshness of the world, completely unprepared to go up against someone like Ryan Carter, who had been entrenched in the corporate world of City A for years. Within a single day, she lost her job. No matter how much she lowered her standards afterward, no company dared to hire her. She knew instantly that Ryan was behind it. Consumed by fury, she took revenge the only way she could, by posting every photo and video she had of them together over the years onto social media. Within hours, the story of Ryan Carter's marital affair shot to the top of the trending searches. Public outrage spread quickly, and his company faced a wave of boycotts. The stock price plummeted, and investors fled one after another. Before leaving the city, I made one last stop at my old university. I wanted to visit the professors who had guided me through those formative years. The campus looked just the same, yet everything inside me felt completely different. My old advisor, who had once known both Ryan and Lily, looked at me with deep regret when he saw me. "Emily," he said softly, "this is my fault. I should have taught Lily better. Maybe then none of this would have happened." I reached out and took his hand, offering a small, calm smile. "This isn't your fault, Professor. Some people are just very good at pretending. I lived with him for 11 years and still didn't see it." "How could you have known?" As I left the campus, I overheard a few students whispering nearby. They mentioned Lily Evans and Ryan Carter's names, their voices filled with gossip and scorn. Lily's reputation had completely collapsed. No one would hire her, and she couldn't survive in City A anymore. In the end, she had no choice but to return to her hometown. She probably thought that once she went home, she could escape the rumors. But in the age of the internet, news spreads faster than a wildfire. She hadn't even reached her doorstep before her entire family already knew everything. Lily's mother had passed away when she was young. Her father remarried soon after, and she'd grown up under the constant beatings of her stepmother. During her years with Ryan, she had sent money home regularly, and only then had the woman's attitude softened slightly. But the moment Lily set foot at the entrance of the village, her stepmother was already waiting. "You shameless girl," the woman screamed. "You still have the nerve to come back? You've disgraced this entire family. Your father and I talked it over. You'll marry that man from the next village, and you're never coming back here again." Before Lily could react, the woman grabbed her arm and shoved her into a waiting taxi. The car drove deep into the mountains, stopping in front of a crumbling wooden shack. Standing there was a filthy, unkempt man with a leering grin. Lily's eyes widened in horror as she stumbled backward. "What are you doing? Don't touch me. I want to go home, please. I want to go home." Her stepmother ignored her pleas, picked up a length of rope nearby, and, with the man's help, tied Lily up and threw her inside the shack. "This is your new home," the woman spat. "I've delivered the girl. I'm done here." She took the stack of cash from the man's hands, 20,000 yuan, and left without looking back. The man grinned and shut the door behind her. From that day on, Lily Evans never stepped out of that mountain again. The once lively, confident girl was gone. In her place was a broken woman the villagers whispered about whenever they passed by. "Poor thing," they'd say. "She studied too much. It made her lose her mind." Half a month later, just as I arrived in Brookhaven City for a business trip, I got a sudden phone call from Tom. His voice was anxious. "Emily, can you come get Ryan? He's at a bar, completely drunk. We've tried everything, but he won't leave. He just keeps calling your name." Before I could respond, his voice trembled again, pleading. On the other end of the line, Ryan's voice trembled, broken and weak. "Emily, I was wrong. I really was." Then Tom's voice came through, urgent and pleading. "You heard him, right? He finally admits it. Ryan knows he messed up and he's already cut things off with that woman. Please, just come check on him. He's been drinking like this every night. His body can't take much more." I kept my composure and replied coolly, "Tom, Ryan and I are divorced. Whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with me anymore. From now on, don't contact me about him again." I hung up right as the airport speakers announced that boarding was about to begin. I turned off my phone and left. Back at the bar, Ryan sat slumped on the sofa. Despite what Tom had said, he didn't look drunk at all. His voice was low and trembling. "Emily, this time, you're really never coming back, are you?" One of his friends tried to comfort him. "Ryan, maybe she's just angry right now. Don't take what she said too seriously." Others quickly chimed in, trying to ease the tension, but Tom, standing nearby, finally lost his patience. His tone was cold and sharp. "No, I think this time she means it. I told you on her birthday to go home and talk to her. What did you do instead? You spent the night with Lily. And now, after losing everything, you suddenly remember what kind of woman Emily was. Don't drag me into this again." He turned and walked out, leaving silence in his wake. Ryan said nothing. He just lowered his head and started drinking again, one glass after another, until the bottles in front of him were empty. Work in Brookhaven City kept me so busy that I barely had time to think about my failed marriage. The endless meetings and reports filled my days and nights, and slowly the pain dulled into something distant. But one evening, months later, I unexpectedly came face to face with my past. It was late after a long day at work. As I walked back toward the company dorm, I noticed a figure standing under the streetlight below the building. Even from a distance, I recognized him immediately. Who else could it be but Ryan? He was staring up at my window, surrounded by a scatter of cigarette butts at his feet. I froze. My first instinct was to turn away, to take another route, but as if he had sensed me, he turned and caught sight of me right away. "Emily," he said softly, "it's been a long time." I pulled my hand free from his and took 2 steps back. "What do you want, Ryan?" My voice was calm, detached, like I was talking to a stranger. He looked momentarily startled, his eyes clouded with hurt. "Emily, I heard you were working here in Brookhaven. I thought you might not be used to the place, so I brought you some things from home. There are even some dishes my mom made for you. They've gone a bit cold, but I can heat them up if you'd like." In 8 years of marriage, apart from the first 2 after our wedding, Ryan had almost never lowered himself like this before me. Now, he seemed small, almost pitiful, so different from the man who had once shouted in my face that he had done nothing wrong. I looked at the dark circles under his eyes and the scruffy beard on his chin. I didn't feel pity, only wariness. My voice was cold as I replied, "Ryan, do you really not understand? All those years we lived together, your mother never once liked me. When I said I enjoyed her cooking, it was only to keep some peace in that house, for your sake, not mine." The look of surprise on his face wasn't feigned. His eyes reddened, his expression twisting with guilt. "Emily, I didn't know you were living like that. I swear, I didn't. I was wrong, really wrong. Please, just give me one more chance." I stared at him calmly. "No, Ryan, I can't. I've never been able to tolerate even a grain of sand in my eye. Once something's dirty, it stays that way forever." The color drained from his face. He stood there, speechless, without the courage to say another word. A year later, the Brookhaven project concluded successfully, and I had to return to City A to report to headquarters. The moment I stepped off the train, I saw a small group of familiar faces waiting for me at the station gate, friends from the old days. I hadn't expected that. Among them were also a few of Ryan's friends. They waved cheerfully as I approached. "Emily Shen, look at you, forgot about all of us, huh? You leave without a word, and then come back without saying anything either." I smiled faintly at their teasing. Why wouldn't I? I had originally planned to invite everyone out for dinner in a few days, but since we'd already run into each other, I decided to do it that very evening instead. At the edge of the group, I saw Ryan standing a short distance away. The early spring air still carried a chill, yet he wore only a thin hoodie. His right hand kept rubbing his left wrist, the same spot where he used to wear the matching watch we bought after getting married. Mine had been thrown away long before the divorce. Over the past year, Ryan and the Carter Group had endured one storm after another, and in the end, the company collapsed completely. He hesitated for a moment, then slowly approached me. "You're back." Even though I no longer felt anything for him, it was impossible to pretend we had never known each other. I gave a small nod in acknowledgement, nothing more. He joined the rest of the group at the restaurant, but inside the private dining room, I made sure to sit as far from him as possible. Throughout the meal, Ryan barely said a word. He simply sat there, quietly watching me, his eyes following my every movement. Midway through dinner, I excused myself to go to the restroom. When I came out, he was standing outside the door, waiting. The look on his face was awkward. "Emily," he said softly, "can we talk for a moment?" I stopped, keeping my distance. "What is there left for us to talk about? I know you're still angry," he said, his voice low. "And I know I was wrong. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just want to ask, for the sake of everything we shared. Could you give me another chance?" I looked straight at him and let out a cold laugh. "And what then? What would you do with that chance?" He blinked, caught off guard. Then, as if grasping at hope, his voice brightened. "Emily, if you give me one more chance, I swear I'll treat you right this time." Ryan," I interrupted. "Don't you find it ridiculous to say something like that? When we were married, when we took those vows, didn't you swear the same thing? You really think I'm foolish enough to believe in that fairy tale of a changed man? Even if you turned back, so what? Some things, once broken, can never be whole again. Turning back won't change what's already gone. Without waiting for his reply, I turned and walked back into the dining room. Ryan didn't follow me, and after that night, I never saw him again. For 4 years, while Ryan was with Lily, she had constantly asked him the same question. Do you love me, or do you love Emily? Every time he would smile faintly, wrap an arm around her, and answer casually, You still don't know who I love. But deep down, even he didn't dare face the truth. As the years passed, he had watched me change. I became calm, gentle, composed, the image of an ideal wife. But in that process, I had also become someone else. The fiery, lively Emily he'd fallen in love with in college was gone. He stayed with Lily not because of love, but because she reminded him of the girl I used to be. He never touched her. Even during those years of deceit, he had kept that one promise he once made to me, that I would be the only woman he ever had in this lifetime. He was foolish enough to believe that as long as he didn't cross that physical line, it wasn't betrayal. That somehow, when I found out, I would forgive him. He never imagined that the day of reckoning would come so soon. When he saw Tom's name flashing urgently on his phone screen, his heart began to pound. Somewhere deep down, he already knew something was wrong, but he still hadn't realized how bad it truly was. He thought one phone call to me would fix everything. He believed that, because I had no one else in the world but him, I would forgive him. He believed that I wouldn't know how to live without him. So he stayed with Lily for 3 more days overseas. But when he finally returned to City A, I had already finished everything. The paperwork, the court filings, the end. That was when panic finally set in. For the first time, he realized that I hadn't just left out of anger. I had left for good. He had begged, pleaded, said everything he could to make me stay, but nothing he said could shake me. When he held the divorce papers in his hands, his mind went blank. Even then, he convinced himself he could still win me back, that somehow there was still a chance. After I moved to Brookhaven, Tom had told him to go find me. But Ryan, still arrogant even then, refused. He thought I'd never survive on my own after years of not working. He thought I'd struggle in a strange city and that within a month I'd come crawling back. 3 months passed and Ryan never called me, not once. While I adjusted quickly to my new life, I later heard that he was struggling, barely getting by. He missed me to the point of obsession. Everywhere he went, in everything he did, I was all he thought about. Sometimes he would lie on our old bed just to breathe in what little was left of my scent. But as the months went on, that scent faded until the room became empty of me, just like his life. Before losing his mind completely, he packed his things and drove to see me. He told Tom later that, on the way, he imagined countless scenarios. Maybe I would cry and run into his arms, tell him I missed him too. Or maybe I'd slap him and scream that I hated him. But what he didn't expect, what broke him completely, was the way I looked at him that day. He said my eyes were cold, like I was looking at a stranger. That one glance pierced straight through his heart. For years, Ryan had believed our marriage was a happy one, that the cracks were his fault, but the love had always been real. Only after we separated did he realize that happiness had been nothing more than an illusion he'd built for himself. He confessed that he should have realized it long ago. 8 years together, and we never had a child. His parents had pressured us constantly, and though they said nothing in front of me, he knew exactly how they treated me behind my back. He hated himself for never standing up for me, for letting me face that house alone. But by the time he understood, it was too late for regret. After his company collapsed, he lost all focus on work. His parents kept pushing women toward him, trying to set him up again. He told them to stop, to leave him alone. He said he didn't need anyone else, that if it wasn't me, it would never be anyone. When I returned to the city for work after years apart, he saw me for the first time again. He told Tom later that the moment he laid eyes on me, he knew there was no going back. He said I looked radiant, confident, independent, completely myself. He said he should have been happy for me, but instead all he felt was the hollow realization that he had lost me forever. After that, he stayed away. He didn't dare approach me again, only asked about me quietly through friends. When he learned I still wasn't seeing anyone, he let himself believe I might still have feelings for him, that maybe I couldn't move on either. That foolish hope kept him breathing for years. Then one day, Tom gave him my wedding invitation. Ryan grabbed his collar, furious. "Where did you get this? When?" Tom told him quietly that I had given it to him myself, that I had been with someone new for more than a year, and that the man treated me well. "Don't go," Tom said. "She won't be happy if she sees you there." "She won't be happy?" Ryan had shouted. "What about me? Has anyone ever cared if I'm happy?" Tom's voice was calm but firm. "Ryan, you heard her first. It's time to let her go." But Ryan couldn't. He said he'd heard that phrase 1,000 times, let go, but how could he? To him, I was part of him, like a limb he couldn't live without. So he went to my wedding anyway. He didn't walk in. He couldn't. He stayed by the gate, too afraid to see me in another man's arms, smiling the way I once smiled at him. Before the ceremony ended, he turned around and left. He told someone later that, as he drove away, all he could see in his mind was the image of me on our wedding day, so beautiful, so full of light. And then the crash happened. The car hit the guardrail, the sound of sirens blaring somewhere far away. His consciousness slipped, but he said my face came back to him, clearer than ever. He had tried to speak, to ask for forgiveness, but all that filled his mouth was water, and in his final moments what he whispered was my name. "Emily, I guess it's time for me to go. Please be happy." And that's how our story ended.